Namaste and welcome to verse 9 and verse 10 of Dakshinamurti Stotram. These are the final two verses in the current teachings. Verse 9 is, there is only Brahman. In this verse and in the previous verse, verse 8, these two verses are in regard to the perspective of Jnani, the enlightened person. Verse 9 describes Lord Dakshinamurti as an eight-folded being. There are 5 elements, which are earth, water, fire, air, and space. The 6th is the sun. The 7th is the moon. And the 8th is consciousness. Consciousness is required to make a person. In fact, everything in the universe is this eightfold form. 5 elements, the sun, the moon, and consciousness. So absolutely everything is this eightfold form. Everything that exists is Brahman. And because of Brahman, everything exists. Because of Brahman, everything exists. Experience itself also exists due to Brahman. This is taught in a Mahavakya, a great saying, a great contemplation. Sarva Kalveram Brahma. All this is Brahman. Sarva Kalveram Brahma. And this teaching is telling us that there is Advaita, non-duality, only Advaita. This teaching, it's understood by those who are wise, those who can see the truth. Verse 9, it's a short verse this. Well, my explanation is short. Verse 9 ends with salutations to Lord Dakshinamurti and to one's own Guru. This was done in the previous 8 chapters. But now we're going into verse 10. There's a little bit of a difference being made. I'm going to fast forward to the end. Previous 9 verses, verse 1 to 9, has salutations to Lord Dakshinamurti and one's own Guru. But in verse 10, it's a little bit different at the end. Verse 10 is what's called Pala Shruti. Pala Shruti in Sanskrit. And this means the fruit of the verses. As my Guru Swami Tarabananda would say, it's okay, verse 1 to 9, but his famous question is rhetorical. So what? So this is the first 10 is the fruit. It's showing us the benefit of studying the previous 9 verses. Verse 10 introduces 2 very important Vedantic terms. The first is Sarvat Matvam. Sarvat Matvam in Sanskrit. And this means being the self of all. It really means being Brahman. This teaching makes it clear what being is like. It is made clear through Vedanta sadhana, which is very, very precise. It is Shravanam, Mananam, Dhyana, meditation, and Sankirtana, which is Sanskrit for reciting teachings or reciting the teaching. It is through this that one gains Sarvat Matvam. Sarvat Matvam. Sarvat Matvam. This teaching, it's so beautiful that in these 10 verses is the entire teaching of Vedanta. The entire teaching. But it gets even better than that, because even more exceptional is that the entire teaching of Vedanta, which is Tat Twamasi, that thou art, you are that, it's present in nearly every single verse. Isn't that amazing? That the entire teaching of Vedanta is not only present in this 10 short verses, but the entire teaching of Vedanta is present in nearly every single one of those 10 verses. It's amazing. Something so comprehensive can be so condensed and still be profound. Shravanam is listening. It's applying your own existing conditioning. That is, applying the knowledge to address your existing confusion. It's not to support your existing notions, but to resolve them. And this is very important. Shravanam is not to support whatever samsaric conditions, worldly notions you have. It's to resolve them, to eradicate them. Very, very important. So Vedanta doesn't fit what you think, what you exist, what you currently think. Manana is for any doubts you may have, and this is where you remove any obstructions to understanding. That's manana. Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is contemplation. Its purpose is to bridge the gap between knowing the knowledge and living it. Here in Nididhyasana, you will see the truth over and over and over and over and over and over. So much that you begin to only see the truth. It becomes so blindingly obvious what is the truth that there's no more doubts. It's just a fact. It becomes a self-evident fact that was always there. It's here that you no longer associate with wanting enlightenment or needing it. For it is here that you assimilate that you are Brahman and you have always known what you are. Aham Brahmasmi. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. You are infinitude. You don't change. You are infinitude and you know you are, and that doesn't change. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. These three aspects of sadhana are vital if Vedanta is to work. And a really important point is that there is absolutely no point in digesting Vedanta as if you're reading a novel or watching the latest box set. Vedanta Pramana, the means of knowledge, is actually a process of unlearning your conditioning, your conditioned notions in regard to your world. It's a process of unlearning of vidya, ignorance, in regard to reality. So if you are accumulating knowledge, you may be missing the point. Maybe missing the point. That's why you say it's not really. It's a curious statement to say, "Well, I've studied Vedanta and I know Vedanta." Know what? Sarvat Matvam means being the truth. You then discover your own nature as God, Ishvara in Sanskrit. Ishvara, the Vedantic term Ishvara has a more comprehensive meaning than, say, the Western Christian God, by the way. We spoke before about Ishwaratvam in previous classes, and possibly in Lagyavakyavrti. It means I am God, and it's really misunderstood. You can't imagine. Even among non-dual circles, even within Vedanta type circles, it's still misunderstood. Ishwaratvam, I am God. And now we're going to just look at this a little tiny bit. The actual meaning, guys, is that the reality because of which you, the person watching this, and God, and everything else exists, is the same. So you, God, and absolutely everything else in this creation is the same. So nothing is separate. And that's a heck of a big thing in regard to suffering and samsara. That nothing is separate. It's very, very important to grasp and to live. So Ishwaratvam shows that you're not separate from God. Okay, you're still a human, okay? And God is still God. Both have different attributes. Like I can't do things that God can do. So we have to look at this in a little bit of context. You are you, I am I, Robert, and God is God. But there is no separation. And this is because you can have let's say a big pot and a small pot. A lot of clay is used for the big pot, yeah? And the smaller amount of clay is used for the small pot. But it's clay that's used in both. So here we can see that it doesn't matter what size, attributes, or form the two pots have, since they are both clay. Yeah. So since they're both clay, they are the same. Yeah. They are the same. The name and the form, or the form in this case, is different. Likewise, the person and God are the same, since Brahman is the underlying reality of the person and God. Yeah. This is Ishwaratvam. In fact, this is Tattvam Asi as well. So the consciousness because of which you are, the consciousness because of which the person is, you are, is a consciousness because of which the universe exists. So there's no separation, which means, can there be limitation? No, because there's no separation. There's only Advaita, so there's no limitation. So you will know then that you are Brahman. You're full, limitless, and complete. And because of this, you don't need anything. You're happy with whatever you have, or whatever you have not in life. You literally go with the flow. Yeah. Even if there's issues, you go with it. No issues, you go with it. Who cares either way? Go with the flow means literally to go with whatever the flow is. If the person is enlightened, they don't need to study this text. So you can turn off now. This text is for those that are seeking that freedom from suffering. Those that are struggling in whatever karmic events unfold in their life. Remember that Prarabdha karma, fruit-defined karma, carries on for everybody, including enlightened beings. The difference is, for the enlightened beings, is their internal perception of the external karmic events. Okay? People in samsara that are suffering will view them as big deals. Enlightened people will view them, I'm not pointing myself, but enlightened people will view them as not big deals. Okay? This verse shows also that the reader can have special powers. They can be large or small. They can appear. You could appear whenever you want from studying this text. You can fulfill your desires from studying this text. And you have control. You can have control over others from studying this text. Verse 10 tells us this, teaches us this. But these have nothing to do with Vedanta. And the question is, well, why the heck are they included? And the reason is they're included to try to interest you in studying the text. Though what you will actually get is something much different and much more, much better. Moksha, enlightenment. So this is a little trick. Verse 10 is a trick, and a positive trick of drawing you in with worldly temptations, big, small, control over people, you can be anywhere you want, all those kind of things. So it's to draw you in with worldly temptations, but offering you something much more profound. And that is Dakshinamurti Stotram. Namaste. Namaste.